This is the Australian Outback, home to some of the most venomous snakes in the world, and I'm going to drive over 1,000 miles through it, looking for some of its weirdest and most dangerous creatures. My mission is to drive inland to Australia's Red Centre, stopping for any unusual creatures we see along the way.
That thing's like bigger than any mantis I've ever seen.
Really?
Yeah.
But the Outback has a secret. Despite being one of the most inhospitable environments on the planet, it's home to some of the world's most famous reptiles. And by the end of this video, you'll know the hidden key to life in this secret world that allows Australia's deadliest desert to be dominated by these amazing scaly creatures. But before we can get very far, we have to fill up at a service station, and we've already got our first venomous creature. These redback spiders are a cousin of the black widow and have an extremely potent neurotoxic venom. They build these tangled webs in forgotten corners where they trap flying insects, which is probably why they're all over this station. What's crazy is you can see them in just about every life stage here. Some young adult females, some juveniles in this windowsill, and even some males hoping to get some action. And right above the bathrooms was a massive, gravid female. She's probably days away from dropping an egg sac. This place is absolutely crawling with redbacks. But there's a great reason why. This is the only solid, permanent structure for miles. And as you're going to see, in a harsh environment like the Outback, structure is going to be what keeps the wildlife alive. Hitting the road, we didn't see much for a while, except for some unidentified ants that remind me a little of the harvester ants back home and an insane-looking grasshopper at mile 15. For a lot of the beginning of the drive, all we saw were small dragon lizards that darted away before we could get a good look. But at mile 100, we got something really special.
No way. Oh, look at that!
What I have right here is a bearded dragon. This particular species of bearded dragon is the same one that you see in the pet store. They call them dragons because of these spines that line their entire body. That's actually perfect. It's a defensive mechanism. Everything out here is coarse, rough, and irritating. Even the grass. It's like pointy, sharp. There's all these little brambles and spiny burrs and stuff that are just tucked inside there. If you're a soft-skinned mammal like a human, walking through here is not the most fun experience. But if you're an armored, fortified reptile like the bearded dragon, it's a walk in the park. They call them bearded dragons for their iconic threat pose. These lizards puff out the flap on their jaw, darkening the scales to give themselves this spiky beard as they flash that bright mouth at you. The bearded dragons dominate the desert during the day, and over the next few miles, we saw quite a few of them. These lizards are extremely heat tolerant, and actually thrive in the harsh sun of the day. But there isn't much else that'll be moving in the heat, so we figured we'd check some cover too. At mile 150, we stopped to check a little tunnel under the road to see if any monitor lizards were hiding in the shade. Nothing here though. But a little bit later in the day and further down the road, at mile 200, a lightning-fast lizard sprinted across the road.
I see him. Yeah. I see his face.
He's in the tree. Yeah. I see him.
No shot.
He's got his tail.
You got him. Look at that. You can actually feel where that speed comes from. This guy is just lined with rippling muscle, and I'm being careful here. Notice I'm holding him gently but firmly behind the neck. They have some razor sharp teeth, and you can see also have razor sharp claws. These monitor lizards are no joke. One of the more impressive reptilian predators we have out here in the Australian Outback.
This sand monitor isn't even maximum size either. The dragons might be the most common, but they fear the power of the monitor lizards. They almost look like little dinosaurs with those crazy eyes and that slender head. Many of these lizards are also mildly venomous, so you wouldn't want to take a bite. But as the sun goes down, the really dangerous stuff starts to slink out of hiding in Central Australia.
So the sun is setting, which means theoretically snakes will be coming out. We got a road that has mulgas, which are the largest venomous snakes in Australia.
The secret world of the Outback comes alive once the sun is down. We're in the northern section of the region still, and at mile 300 we saw our first snake, a shovel-nosed snake. They don't look like much, but this is a venomous elapid, using neurotoxins to paralyze the small lizards that it eats. Our next snake came a bit further down the road at mile 332, a curl snake. Another venomous elapid. These guys will definitely bite you. Doesn't usually cause more than intense pain and local swelling, but still don't want to get too close. It was at mile 357 where we really struck gold.
Wow.
That's Mulga.
This is a Mulga snake, or a king brown. It looks almost like a cobra, flattening its neck and hissing. This is one of the most venomous snakes in Australia, and a deadly bite if we're not careful. At only 3 feet long, this is a young one, but these are one of the top snake predators in the outback, hunting under cover of night for other venomous snakes. These are even known to eat the world's most venomous snake, the inland taipan, which is also found in some parts of the outback. The craziest thing about them is that they're actually somewhat immune to many of the Australian snake venoms. That is one metal snake. But as we work our way south, the reptiles are going to only get crazier. Most of the next day was driving, and with rain pushing through the area, we didn't see a lot of reptiles out. Around mile 400, we did see a few emus running out in the distance. That was pretty cool. As the day came to a close and the skies cleared, we stopped to climb probably the most insane cliff I've ever seen in my life at mile 445.
That's so cool.
Just take this in for a second. As far as you can see, an expanse of wilderness. This is the Australian Outback at its finest. One of the most unique deserts in the world, filled with some of the most iconic wildlife and some really unusual secrets. This landscape has some of the most amazing color palettes, bizarre landforms, and special wildlife. And we're only scratching the surface on this drive so far. If you want to dive deeper with me on some of the insane creatures of our world, consider subscribing. This channel is all about investigating the hidden secrets of unusual animals, and the wildlife of the outback is no exception. That night, we got more rain and storms. The wind actually flushed a really interesting praying mantis out of one of the mulga trees at mile 493, but other than that, we didn't see anything. This is going to be really nice for tomorrow though, because rain in the desert flushes out all the really secretive animals. Coming up to mile 575, we took a detour for the heat of the day to visit Uluru and Katajuda, a nice little hike with some insane views and some weird vegetation.
You gotta imagine how strange it was, like for the first humans that found this place. This is unlike any habitat I've ever been in, anywhere.
Ow! The snakes aren't the only things that are venomous out here. These round tufts of grass are lined with sharp spines that are actually toxic. Some people have a really bad reaction to spinifex, but luckily it only tingled a bit for me. How weird. Driving back to the lodge a few hours out of the park, we stopped at mile 700 for another one of Australia's most famous lizards, a blue-tongued skink on the side of the road. Crazy how as the sun starts to get lower, some of these insane lizards come out. This thing doesn't even look real. Plastic maybe, but these lizards are extremely popular in the pet trade because their temperament is so relaxed. This is a wild skink, and it has no interest in biting. It's not threat posing, it's just bumbling back under the grass looking for shade. What a beauty. It's definitely not the most insane lizard we could possibly find though.
I saw it. Yep. Look at that.
At mile 752, we found the holy grail of the outback, one of the rarest and most special reptiles not just in Australia, but the world, the thorny devil.
Look at the spines that just line this creature's back. That is the iconic body of the thorny devil. Finding stuff in the desert is not the easiest thing, so being here at the right time of year, getting the right temperatures, right conditions, that is where all of it comes into play to actually get your target. We've been out here looking for quite a few different arid living animals, but this one was quite the prized target.
Thorny devils are extraordinarily weird. These lizards are covered in tough spines that are actually quite sharp, but also give them incredible camouflage in the mottled shadows of the sand under vegetation. The way they move is strange too. These are dragons, just like the beardies, but don't have any of the typical dragon speed. They instead hobble across the sand, munching on ants in the scorching sun, which they don't mind at all. Sometimes, you can follow their tracks in the sand to find them, but the best way to see them is to get lucky while cruising roads in the right habitat, just like this. Look at this thing. What a marvelous lizard. After sunset, we got back to it, and at mile 761, we found this. It's a trapdoor spider in the genus Conitheli, which I don't think has been documented much at all on the internet. And surprisingly, didn't have any iNaturalist observations from the area we found it either. And we saw hundreds of them over the next 50 miles of cruising. But not just trapdoor spiders, the geckos were out in force. Knob-tailed geckos, which look kind of like a caricature of leopard geckos with their soft skin but bulbous heads and tails, barking geckos, and even legless geckos like this scaly-foot lizard. All the Outback weirdos are out tonight. At mile 900, we found something really special. This looks like one of the coral snakes back home in the US, and it's not far off. It's another venomous elapid.
Have a look at this crazy looking snake. I'm told this is actually one of the elapids out here. This is a desert bandit snake, and yes, it's venomous. But the crazy thing about them is we're not even sure if they're capable of biting people. I'm handling him very gently, kind of watching what he's doing. What's wild is he reminds me more of like the scarlet snakes back home. These super fossorial, super subterranean, and very colorful snakes.
The banding on this snake is a warning. It tells potential predators that the desert banded snake is highly venomous and to stay back. We're not totally sure what its venom can do to people, but due to its extremely subterranean lifestyle, it's likely that it would have a pretty hard time biting me and would need to really chew to inject a serious amount of venom. Watch how it glides over the soil here. These are a sand swimming snake most of the time, living in that top layer of substrate where it's safe from the desert heat and can hunt other subterranean reptiles. Absolutely incredible. Mile 901 and onward, we saw even more trapdoor spiders and more geckos than you can count. Like, you wouldn't believe how many geckos there are. Where the heck do these guys go during the day anyway? As the night came to a close and we rounded out to mile 1000, we saw what we thought was a snake crossing the road. This is even cooler and will give us the key to the secret of the Outback.
Look at this little guy. You're probably thinking this is a snake, right? We're in Australia, so I probably shouldn't touch it, but this is actually not a snake at all. Look at this bizarre looking reptile. That crazy looking, almost crocodilian snout and snake body is the iconic Burtons legless lizard, which sounds kind of obscure, but don't be fooled. This is one of the most prolific, successful, and strange lizards in all of Australia.
And would you believe it, it's also a gecko. You can see the way it licks its eyeball. So weird. These are lizard hunters. They use that crocodile-like snout to grab onto other geckos and literally rip off chunks. I wouldn't want to be on the menu for these guys. And he's crossing the road to get to the tufts of spinifex on the other side. Look at how he twists around the grass. While this spiny plant is impenetrable for me, it's a playground for the lizard. This is the strange way that so many lizards exist in the Outback. The spinifex is dense. It gives a surprising amount of shade, but it's also a fortress. Invasive cats and foxes can't get through it, so the native reptiles can use it as cover not just from the sun, but from the things that would like to eat them. And if you've been stung by spinifex, you know that once they're in the depths of this spiky plant, there is really no getting at them. It's a surprising conservation story. So many of the iconic lizards, including the thorny devil, depend on spinifex to survive. But increasing cattle ranching is clearing the spinifex from the habitat, leaving less and less cover for these lizards to use. It's a silent war that's happening in one of the world's most famous deserts, and something not enough people are talking about. This desert, known for the deadly snakes who call it home, truly is more than meets the eye. And if you know how to look, it's teeming with wonderful, weird, and incredibly special reptile life. But perhaps no reptile is more special than the main snake I was after while I was down under. The mountainous, grassy deserts of the Red Center give way to desolate moon plains as you travel further south. And while it looks like nothing can survive here, it's actually the domain of the snake with the most potent venom in the entire world. If you want to learn more about the deadly inland taipan, check out this video right here. Hope to see you there, but until next time, don't forget to get outside and find your own adventure.